Hello and welcome to the Awakened Feminine podcast. I'm your host, 𝐸𝐞𝐬 𝐸, and my mission is to share the love and wisdom of inspiring women from around the world who have gone through adversity and turned their pain into purpose. Today, I'm excited to share the love and wisdom of transformational hypnotist, money mindset coach, and host of the Fear is a Motherfucker podcast, Rebecca Wiener McGregor, who is joining me all the way from South Dakota, USA. Welcome, Rebecca.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I'm so happy to be here with
Yeah,
you.
I'm excited to have you. And I said the full word, so thank you so much. Um, Before we get started, I just want you to share with us, maybe in a couple of sentences, who you are and what you do, because I really just gave a very brief description of what you do.
Sure. I've kind of taken on the identity as being an amplifier of love. And that is important to me, being someone who really promotes love over fear. And not that fear is bad, but really understanding that we have a choice. We can operate from love or we can operate from fear.
Yeah.
And all the things that feel so good come from love. So that's where I get the amplifier of love piece. And I help people break through limits around their emotions, releasing difficult emotions like panic and anxiety and things like that, and really helping them live free. Emotional freedom is the goal. And doing that in such a way that you can really create and live the life that you want instead of going through the motions
Yeah.
from day to day.
Beautiful. I love what you do. And I'm really excited for our conversation
Thank you.
today. And
I am
last
too.
question before we dive into our topic today. What is your definition of an awakened feminine? I'd love to know that.
Someone who knows the truth of love and fear, and someone who knows that there are limits and that's part of life, and that they're going to come, and you get to move through them. We get to move through them. We get to grow. We get to figure out our gunk, and
Yeah.
we get to move forward through it and be loving with ourselves and really acknowledging how powerful that is in itself instead of avoiding or pretending it's not happening.
Yeah. I love that. Yeah. I totally agree. Every experience is a chance for us to grow and become better and better and be able to get through more things easier as well. So I love that
Yeah,
definition. Thank you so much for
yeah,
sharing. So
yeah.
I really want to talk about, because your podcast is called Fear is a Motherfucker. So really, I would love to talk
Right.
about fear. It's, I also teach money mindset like yourself.
Right.
So I really want to kind of tie that together. But let's talk about fear generally first, because fear isn't the enemy, but most people
Right.
think when there's fear, it's like, oh no, it's a stop, don't do it. When
Right.
really, unless it's really primal fear where you're in life danger, then that's real fear, but otherwise it's all in your head. So do you mind
Right.
just sharing with us your perspective of, why fear is a mother effer? I'll just interchange between what I feel like, but it's not the
Sure,
enemy.
sure. Right. It's a beast. It's painful. It pushes our buttons. It stops us in our tracks. It irritates us. It comes for us because it's our brain trying to keep us safe, right? But it's not the enemy because it's our brain trying to keep us safe. It also can be like a guiding compass to where exactly our limitations are. So if you take out the judgment about having fears, because everyone has them,
Mm,
I don't like to speak in absolutes. So let's say most people
yeah.
have fears, right?
Yes.
And they lead us to where we can grow. If we're feeling a fear, if we're feeling being, sometimes people will say, well, I'm not scared of anything. It's fear is can be a limitation, it can be a block, it can be some place that we are stopping ourselves from being fully authentic,
Yep.
taking the action that we want, letting our spirit really guide our happiness. So I always think like fear is, we'll call it the beast, right? Fear can be a beast, but it's not the enemy because it's the natural form of our brain trying to keep us alive. Our brain only cares about keeping us safe and alive. It's our spirit that wants joy and happiness and fulfillment and wealth and abundance and connection and love and all those other things.
Yeah.
But we have to learn to work with the fear instead of pretending it doesn't exist. Instead of even going for a place where we're living fearlessly, but having the confidence to feel all those feelings, the potential to be rejected if you say something in your truth, the potential for something to not work out if you take action, and dealing with those painful emotions and consequences. That's what confidence is, rather than just deciding, well, I'm not going to be afraid of this. And it's because it's natural for us to have fears.
Yeah. Do you like this just popped up when you said there's, you don't want to speak in absolutes. And do you believe the people that say they have no fear, or do you believe that there's some they have fear, but there's a kind of another mechanism to stop them feeling? I don't know if you understand what I'm talking about. It's kind of like they have
Sure.
fear, but they're not showing it, or their brain doesn't quite register the fear.
Well, if you condition yourself long enough, right, you can feel fearless because you will retrain your brain around the fears,
Mm,
and or you will heal the part of you that feels the fear and move through it.
yeah.
So, do I know anybody who's completely fearless? I don't know anybody who's completely fearless.
Yeah.
I know that people can work on their brain and work on their neural pathways and make themselves into a place where taking action is the routine, and our brain loves routines.
Yeah.
It loves when we do the same things over and over. So if taking action and moving forward becomes part of your routine, then it will feel fearless, most likely,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. So it's
Yeah.
not that they don't have fear, it's just that they use it to take action, and they get through it very quickly. They recognize what's happening, and then they just go, okay, well, I need to do this. They use it as their guide, like what you were saying before. Fear can be a
Right,
guide, right? So
right.
there is, I want to talk about like, so there is fear where it's like, okay, I, really, I don't want to do this. It scares me. But then there's fear is like,
Hmm.
I really want to do this, but it scares me. Like there's the good fear
Hmm.
and the bad, the where that you shouldn't really go into there, like that dark alley. Like, I really shouldn't walk in there. That's that
Right.
fear, right? And then there's the, oh, I really want to change my career, but there's that fear because I need to start from scratch. How do you tell between which one to use as your compass of moving forward and taking the action?
That's a really great question. I think you can use both kinds. And I think there's a piece that comes into play with the walking in the dark alley,
Mm,
right? And that is it in my standards to put myself in danger?
mm,
So this is a fear that's telling me, hey, that might not be the safest place for you.
yeah,
If you're looking at the dark alley, but you know that your friend or your child is in there and you have to get them out, that's a different set of circumstances,
yeah,
right? And it might be in your standards to go get your child out of that dark alley.
yeah.
Your standards change a little bit
Mm,
depending on the circumstance. And then we have this other fear that is like, I'm afraid of completing this and falling on my face and failing miserably, and the fear of completing this and having it be wildly successful and not knowing what to do with myself and living with myself with this new identity of being successful. That there are different kinds of fears, and they can be addressed easily by putting those standards in place,
yeah,
and then deciding, what kind of life do I want to have? What kind of life do I ultimately desire to have? And building your standards in that.
yeah,
The life of my dreams means that I get to make a lot of the rules. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not talking about the laws. I know that there are laws that I'm following, right?
Yeah.
But I get to make the rules of my daily life
Yeah.
that I choose to see people and myself as creators. And I get to choose to operate from love most of the time.
Yeah.
And I get to have standards where authenticity and integrity are very high on the list. And then that helps me make those decisions that when I'm in fear as well.
Yeah.
And that is the beginning of freedom, right?
Yeah. Yes. I love that. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
I want to ask, when there's fear, that a lot of people, like the example that I gave around, someone wanted to change their career, but they're too scared to, but they're suffering, inside they're like, I just hate my job. I hate what I'm
Yeah.
doing. Or they just know that they're playing small and they need to do something else. Why do
Right.
people want to keep suffering instead of working through their fear? Why do we want to suffer? Like, you feel
Yeah.
all this pain inside when you're suffering, and you want to do
Right.
this thing, but this fear, you just can't get past it even though you're dying inside. Why is that?
Mm. We attach to suffering because we understand this level, we know this level of discomfort.
Mm,
The discomfort that we have staying in this job that is not serving us, is not fulfilling, the environment isn't great. We know that discomfort.
yeah.
It's familiar, and the brain loves familiar
Yeah.
because if you keep doing those same things over and over, the brain gets used to it,
Yeah.
right? And the idea of stepping out into the unknown, if I leave this job, well, maybe every place is like this. Maybe every boss is terrible. Maybe every team that I'll be on is terrible. Maybe I can't get better money anywhere else. Maybe I'll end up doing the same kind of thing and I'll just continue my suffering, right?
Yeah.
That I don't know all of that kind of suffering because we can get really excited about a new job. We can think, oh, that's going to be the key to my happiness. I'm going to get to this new job and then it's the same stuff happening over and over. And then we built up all this expectation and excitement for the new possibility, and it's just exactly the same as it was before.
Mm,
That's a huge letdown.
yes.
And so apply that in any area of your life. Do I really want to change? Because what if it's just the same and it's more suffering?
Yeah.
Or what if it's worse?
Yes.
That's really scary, right? Like, what
Yeah.
if I set this other thing up to be so great and it's really not that great? So staying in this discomfort is easier and safer than moving into that other unknown discomfort, potential unknown discomfort.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
yeah, it's staying in your comfort zone, even if it's uncomfortable.
Yes,
Yeah. Um,
exactly.
yeah, it's very interesting how we just attach ourselves to pain and suffering, even though we can see, like, even though there is the potential for things to be better,
Hmm.
but then we build all these stories in our head. Well, what if it isn't better? What if it's worse? I'll just stay here in my little safe place rather than go.
Hmm.
So, is it some like, to get through fear? Is it something that we need to really do the inner work first to then move through the fear? So, what kind of like advice do you have for people to, like, start working, like releasing the stories? I guess it's more
Mm,
the thing, because it's all the
sure.
stories that we build in our head about the fear of rejection. If we put ourselves up there, what if people don't like us? Because we as humans love to
Right.
be, we want to be liked, even
Right.
though not everyone's going to like you. We still want to believe that everyone's going to like us. um so then, we build all these stories in our head. What's something that's really helpful for people to start releasing the stories, or see through the, I like to call it the, hiss and smoke that our brain likes
Oh,
to,
yeah.
that likes to trick us into going, oh, if you do that, it's going to be like this. But really see through that smoke and mirrors, that really is okay. What's something that people can do to kind of get through that smoke and mirror and release those stories?
Okay, that's such a powerful question because we need to get through it while we're in the process, right? If we wait to do anything until we're fully healed, we'll be waiting a darn long time, right?
Yeah.
So we get to do the healing and the moving forward while we're having the fears. But or let me rephrase that, and there's this wonderful quote from Dr. Wayne Dyer, who was one of my greatest teachers. I love him and miss him so much. And he had this beautiful, succinct quote: when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change.
Mm.
That
Oh.
quote gives me goosebumps to this
Yeah,
day. It's
I've
changed
got
my
it.
entire life.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because when you look at a situation, a story that you've been telling yourself over and over, or a situation that has paralyzed you, and you just kind of lean back a little bit without judging the emotions, without judging yourself, and just being aware of what you're feeling, aware of what's really happening in the situation, you get a fresh perspective.
Mm.
This thing, even if we just go back to wanting to change jobs,
Yeah.
I used to be petrified of leaving a job. I would say, well, I just really love job security, and I'm really loyal. So I'm going to stay at this job foreverandever.com until something happens and I have to leave, right?
Yeah.
And the truth was that I was scared to move beyond my every other week paycheck there because I was tied to that, what I
Yeah.
thought was security,
Yes.
right? And was I able to find that other places? Yes. Was I able to actually create that for myself? Exponentially more income even?
Yeah.
And to do that in a way that now that feels comfortable to me? Yes. But I look back and I think your story, Rebecca, was so strong about how you were so tied to your job and how
Mm.
that was what made you feel secure. And the truth is that now I feel more secure being able to create my own income.
Yeah.
So that's for all the people who are like on the edge of wanting to start their own thing,
Yeah.
or they've started their own thing but they're not sure when they should leave their job. Leave your job when it feels right, when you can
Yeah.
still stay in the feeling of abundance, right? But start to look at why you're there in a different way.
Yeah.
Start to look at why you feel that fear. What is it that you're attached to about that fear? Because when we start asking ourselves those questions, we get to develop a really nice relationship with ourselves.
Mm.
And when we start developing that relationship, we build our awareness so strong. And awareness is everything.
Yeah.
Because we don't know where we're blocked until we're aware of it, right?
Yes.
We can't move past the limitation unless we're aware of it.
Yes.
But when we build that relationship with ourselves, we can feel in our body. When I ask myself, oh, what's your next level? I know right where it is in my body, where
Yeah.
it's like, oh, that's going to be a big jump, Rebecca. And where if I'm feeling fear about a relationship or a situation in my life, I'll sometimes even notice that I feel it in my body first. And then I'll be able to check in. What are the thoughts that you're thinking? What's the perspective that you have about this? And remembering that your thoughts are just beliefs that you're thinking for that moment.
Yeah.
And you can change them. Because our thoughts are easily changed. It's just the activity of the brain, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that it's concrete. Just because you have one belief and you think that this staying at this job, the whole thing is hinged on that one belief. Know that you know that you know you can start to change that thought, change the belief set around that, and start thinking something new for yourself.
Yeah.
I create my freedom. I create my security. It's not at the hands of the CEO of the company that I work for. I create my feeling of security.
Yeah.
And start to challenge your thoughts a little bit, but do this all without judgment, right? Because if you start judging every single thought that you have, you're going to be in trouble. It's going to start creating just compound feelings, and you don't need that. So if you can be really loving in that relationship with yourself, like, hey, you just had this thought. and do that kind of lean back and look at the thought instead of immediately reacting or deciding that you're a fool because you've done all this work and why you're still having that thought.
Yeah.
Then you get to move forward, and you don't have to be attached to your thoughts, and then they're a little bit more easily moved and shifted by your desires.
Oh, I love that. I've got, as
That's
you were
a long
talking, I've
answer.
got full body tingles going on, because
Oh,
one of the
good.
things that I always say is the first step to change is awareness. It really is,
Mhm.
because most people aren't aware of what their blocks and limitations are. So
Mhm.
it is being aware and being willing to make that change. And then I love that you talk about judgment, because we're so quick to judge ourselves. We're judging ourselves on, judging our body, judging, what we think, judging other people. We're
Mhm.
just so quick to do that. And do you have any I know you said, look at the thought and, look from above. um are there any other tools that are really good for releasing judgment? Because it's so common. We probably judge ourselves many times a day, and judge other people
Yeah.
also many times a day. So it's like it's very hard, and most people aren't even aware that they're judging, because it's just so ingrained
Right.
in us to just do that, and it's just normal. It's like, oh yeah, oh, my skin looks like
Right.
shit, or oh, I'm so fat, or
Right.
people just say that, oh, I'm eating like crap,
Mm.
I should do this, I should do that, and there's no shoulds,
Right.
really. So what's something that
Right.
people can do to, apart from taking a step back, is there something that's, because some people can't, I think taking the step back, sometimes it might be the next level when people are a bit more aware.
Right. Right.
But it's when they first go, oh, I'm judging, and then something that might be very quick that can help to just get rid of or release it anyway.
Sure. Well, I think that the first step of that is really committing to releasing judgment and knowing and understanding that you're doing it all the time. Because when you start to pay attention to your thoughts, even before you're like taking that step back and looking at them, just notice what you're thinking about when you're with someone else, when you're on a Zoom call or you are meeting someone in person. What are you thinking about them? Is it loving thoughts? Is it judging thoughts?
Mm,
When you stand in your own mirror and you're like, oh, or are you like, hmm, is it a yucky feeling of judgment? Like, oh, I want to change this? Or is it noticing, oh, I didn't even realize how many new freckles I got this summer? Or is it, ugh, I've got all these new freckles?
yeah.
Notice the tone of your thoughts.
Yeah.
And then you can shift them into acknowledgement versus judgment, right?
Mm,
You can acknowledge, oh, your friend's hair is up or whatever, rather than, oh, that's a hairstyle that doesn't work for them. Like just the simple ways that we quickly judge everything around us.
yeah.
It can be just a simple shift in tone,
Yeah.
but noticing how often it's happening and then
Mm,
pulling back, and in the moment of judgment, if you're really committed to practicing this, filling in the space with love,
mm,
because that's judgment comes from a fear.
yeah.
Everything that doesn't really feel good comes from a fear.
Mm,
And being able to say, okay, oh, I hate these freckles. Lean in a little bit and say, huh, look at how interesting your body is that it created these freckles because you were out in the sun.
yeah.
Like, isn't our body so amazing and unique that I can be out in the sun and get thousands of freckles in one day, and you can be out in the sun the next day for the same amount of time, not a freckle in sight. Like,
Yeah.
it's just so fascinating. Instead of being in a place of judgment, being in a place of delighting that we're all so different.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
love that. And you answered my question before I even asked it, because I was going, as the amplifier of love, do you believe that we need to like put some love into that after releasing the judgment? And you answered it so awesome. You must have
Yes.
felt. I, I want to ask you now. I just want to talk a bit about money, mindset, and fear, because
Mm-hmm.
fear has a lot to do with our interaction with money, how we spend it, how we receive it, how we
Yes.
deal with money. So can you share with us what are some signs that people have a fear around money?
Mm. This is going to be bold, okay? So be loving with yourself and don't judge yourself. You'll notice if you have a limit around fear if you don't have the amount that you want.
Mm, yeah.
You're not to your destination yet, then you have limits to work through. And as you grow and change, your desire will probably expand. And that's another guide, right? Another guide to, hey, this is your next level. And if you don't have that yet, it's just there means that there's more work, there's more limitations to work through, there's more releasing of the judgment, there's more releasing of the past, there's more releasing of the stories, there's more releasing of the things that your parents or your family or culture taught you about what is possible for you. And that's okay. None of it's wrong. It's right where you are right now is perfect. It's this beautiful spot on your journey. And that you get to deepen that relationship with yourself, deepen your honesty with yourself, learn and grow and fill in that space with new beliefs, new action, love. And all that's the fun part. When you get past the judging, all of that stuff, right?
Yeah.
That, oh my gosh, I don't have the money I want, I'm really screwed up. It is when you get past that judgment and you're like, oh, this just means I get to grow and I get to move to that place. Yeah, then it gets to be more fun.
Yeah.
We're definitely in need of more fun.
Yes.
It's
Definitely asking how, I think, like you say, we all have that next level that we want to go to. But if you're not even at the level that you want to go to, how can you get there, rather than beating yourself up and going, oh, why am I here? I can never get anything right. And that's when your energy as well, it affects your attraction to money because you're just in this negative energy. So you're pushing it away. You're pushing abundance, not even just money, it's your whole abundance. If you're negative, you're pushing that away. So yeah, definitely. What do you think is the hardest fear? Maybe not fear, but maybe it's fear, but hardest fear to shift around money? Because we were talking, you were just saying that, it could be your upbringing, your family, your ancestors, your culture, your environment. What's the hardest one to shift?
Is it really possible for me?
Mm.
Because I get a lot of, and I've had this fear, this limitation myself that I've worked through. So of course I notice it in my clients, and it is wealth really meant for me the way that I want? Like I see other people having success and wealth that's beyond their wildest dreams. Like we just had Reese Witherspoon just sold her company for $900 million, right? Yeah. It's easy to see, like, oh, she's famous. That kind of money is meant for other people. And then we have, oh my gosh, I'm totally blanking on her name. She owns the beauty and fashion company, Fenty. She's a singer.
Yeah.
So that has made her a billionaire, right?
Well, yeah.
She came from nothing.
Yeah.
Something inside of her said, I get to have success too. Instead of, I don't get to have success. It's meant for other people. It's meant for me too. I think that's like this, I have goosebumps right now because I feel like that's like this underlying story that a lot of us tell ourselves that, no, we're just meant for this life. Can't I just be grateful for what I have? Do I need $1 billion? No, you probably don't need $1 billion, but that level of success is meant for you too.
Yeah.
We live in a limitless universe, so there is no asking for too much.
Yeah.
And the kind of success that you want, that you dream of, that you journal about, that you put on your vision board, that you maybe even don't put on your vision board because it's too big, that really big success that you want, that is your higher self speaking to you saying, you can have that. It's not just meant for other people. This dream is for you because you're the one meant to have it the way that only you can have it.
Yeah.
So that is a very long answer again to a very perfect question of what's the most common thing. It's just believing that success and money and love and connection and relationships and everything good is meant for other people.
Yeah.
When it's meant for us too.
Yeah. Do you think it's like a self-worth issue? Self-worth, self-love,
Yes.
it all comes down to those things,
Yeah.
doesn't it?
I mean, we can categorize our fears, right? We can categorize them in all the self things, and really it is like the self-worth, the self-trust, like what if I make that much money and I don't know what to do with it? What if I become a bad person? You know, all those kind of things that can come into that. And am I really worthy of having all my dreams? Those be super loving with yourself if those things are coming up for you right now, okay?
Yeah.
Because that's just speaking to you and saying, there's some love that can be infused in here. There's some new loving thoughts that you can start to have. And maybe it is you go from, oh, that's not meant for me, or I'm not worthy of that, to what if it is meant for me? What if I am worthy? And just even switching that belief into a question, some new pathways start happening.
Yeah.
Some breaking through of some old ways, right? New detours, new pathways saying, what if I am worthy of everything that I want? What if this old belief isn't serving me anymore? We don't have to worry about the past. We don't have to worry about, oh, it's not been serving me for 10 years. Just what if it's not serving me right now?
Yeah.
What if I let myself believe something new today?
Yeah.
What if right now was the perfect opportunity for me to believe in myself just a little bit more than I did yesterday?
Yeah.
And what would that look like? What would I do if I believed in myself just a little bit more than I did yesterday?
Yeah.
What could be possible for me then? That's a really loving conversation to have with yourself.
Yeah.
And
I love that.
There's a sweetness there. There's
Yes.
not judgment, really. There's just like openness.
Yes.
And when we get to that part, like our creativity gets to take off. And that's where we find all of our solutions in the way, the capital T, capital W way, right? Into the next thing.
Oh, I love that. I've got full goosebumps. And
Good.
Yeah. And yeah, for everyone listening, yes, you are worthy of your dreams, of your desires. You just need to build that self-trust, self-belief that you are worthy. So yes. Oh, such a beautiful conversation, Rebecca. I just love our
Thank
conversation.
You so much,
before we wrap up,
yes,
because self-love, I mean, we kind of touched on that, was a big part of my journey, and it's still, I think self-love is a continuous thing that we need to remind ourselves to keep going on with.
right.
What does self-love mean to you when you talk about self-love?
Self-love is building that relationship with the self and releasing the judgment so the love can shine through.
Yeah.
That is the ultimate act of self-love, right? And the ultimate act of self-love after that is using that relationship with yourself to build the life that you actually want to live in.
Yeah.
And having time, giving time and space to the thoughts that you have and your growth. That's really self-loving. Self-development, personal development, it's all very loving act, can be very loving act when we release that judgment.
Yeah. Beautiful. Oh, thank you so much. I love our conversation today. It's been amazing, and you're amazing. I really, really just...
Oh, thank you.
Oh, it's been awesome. Before we go, can you share with us where people can find you or how they can work with you if, yeah, how they can work with you?
Oh, I would love that. Thank you so much. That's very generous. People can find me at healwithhypnosis.com or RebeccaWiener.com. And if anybody wants to talk to me about any of the things that we've talked about today, hop on those sites and click a call with me. And then I have some free resources that I can share with you too about moving through these things.
Awesome. Thank you so much again for sharing your love and wisdom with us today. I'll have all your details and in the show notes so people can reach out to you.
Beautiful. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And until next time, I love you. I believe in you. And always remember to spread love, joy, and kindness wherever you go.